Are you looking for an agile sprint planning template? Perhaps something just like this. Well, if that's the case, you've come to the right place, because in today's video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to create this particular agile sprint planning template from scratch. Now, if you are short of time, there will be a link in the description down below that will enable you to download this instantly and get up and running. Nevertheless, let me now walk you through how to create this all from scratch. So I've just created a brand new notebook. It's completely blank, and I'm now going to show you exactly what to do step by step. So the first thing that I'm going to do in the bottom here, in this little tab here, is just name that sheet. So I'm going to call it Agile Sprint Plan. So I've renamed it, double left-hand click of the mouse, and I've just renamed it from Sheet 1 to Agile Sprint Plan. Next up, we are going to give this document a title, just so that if we are to share this with any other stakeholder, they know exactly what they have opened and what they're seeing. So in B2, I've just typed in Agile Sprint Plan, and I've just increased the font size to font size 20. At this point, it's worth noting that you can use any theme font that makes sense for you in your organization. I'm just going to stick with Calibri for now. The other thing that makes sense to do is I'm going to select from A1 through to, let's just say, M2. And I'm going to, on the home ribbon, just select this little drop down here. And I'm going to use a light color just to differentiate the header from the rest of the content underneath. Now, if you've got corporate branding colors, it makes sense to use those. So now let me run through the core content areas. So the first thing we're going to do is we want somewhere to store some key information about the project. So we're going to have project name and project manager here. I'm going to bold these. I'm going to put an outside border around. So home, and I'm going to go all borders. Now we can change the formatting as time goes on in terms of how big we need certain fields to be. So what I did there is I just dragged that across. So I've hovered over in between these columns. I saw this little icon, left clicked on my mouse and dragged, and we are making that slightly bigger. So we've got that content area here. We want to be able to quickly see the start date of when our first sprint started taking place. We're going to want a finish date as well, or the last sprint is expected to finish. Then we're going to want somewhere to track the overall progress. So I'm going to put that all in here. I'm going to put all of this in bold like this. Let's make these a little bit bigger. Double left click and it takes to the size that we need it. Put that in bold. Now the other thing I'm going to do here is just put in a light gray, again, just to differentiate. And I'm going to make sure all of those are bolded as well. The other thing that makes sense to kind of include over here, I'm actually going to left click in B4 and go through to C5, Control C, and I'm going to Control V here because I want the formatting as well. Now, what I'm going to set up here is somewhere to store the project deliverable or deliverables. You can put that in this content area here, and we can make it bigger with wrap text if we wanted to. And in here, we're going to have somewhere to put the scope statement. It's just good to have all of this information in this document. Now it comes to building the actual plan. So these are the columns that I'd recommend that you use. Of course, you may need to adapt these somewhat to suit your needs, but nevertheless, these work particularly well. I'm going to type them all out, and then I'll show you how we can set up things like drop downs and things like that to make this more manageable and easier to populate. So the first is going to have at risk. That's going to be a yes or no flag. We are going to have sprint/task. We're going to want to document both of those in here. We are going to want the next column to be feature type. And I want to bold that here. And then we're going to want responsible. So someone, who's responsible for the sprint or the feature. We're going to want story points here. We are going to want start date and finish date. Let's keep the language the same. You could be end date, but let's keep that the same. We are going to want duration, status, and comments, somewhere to leave comments against each sprint or feature. Now, what we can do at this point, you've got multiple different options, but we just want to set up a quick table. So the way we do that is I'm going to select from B8 through to K. Let's go down to row 30. I'm going to go insert on the ribbon, and I'm going to press table here. At which point we need to select that my table has headers because we've already typed it out. I'm going to press OK, and you'll see it converts it into a table like this. At which point we'll be automatically in the table design. I'm just going to rename this as Sprint Plan. That way, if we ever need to run formulas against this table, we can do that and refer to this particular table with this name. Now, I'm not a fan of this blue color here. So what I want to do under table design, and I'll quickly show you something. If I click off this table at any time, if you want to get back to that screen, click into the table and then press table design, and it will show all this up here on the top. Now, if I press this drop down here, quick styles, you'll see that I can quickly apply loads of different styles to the table. Now, some of these you may look at and think, I immediately want that. If nothing kind of takes your fancy, you can always click on new table style. We're going to call this, let's just call this Sprint Plan. We'll apply it to the whole table. I'm going to hit format. And what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to apply a border. So I'm going to go automatic, not automatic, sorry. Oh no, it is set up like that. We're going to go black. We're going to go click on outline and inline because I want borders across the whole thing. Press OK and press OK. Now, if we select this little drop down again, you'll see our custom one has been created. So now we have this table set up. The only other thing I'm going to do actually is you could do that through that table design, but I'm actually just going to add some gray background there, a fill, if you like. So that is now set up. So now let's set up the different content areas. So in order to do that, some of these we can type in manually, but I'm going to go through each column one by one and show you how we can set up some suitable drop downs for each. So at risk is going to be a yes or no. So let us set up the reference in order to have this as a drop down. So the first thing we're going to need to do is go to the bottom here, and in sheet 2, I'm just going to call this key. I'm going to left click and drag this over here. I want this to be in first position in the sheet. It could be at the end if we wanted to. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select go back into the Agile Sprint Plan, and I'm going to select from A1 through to E2, Control C. I'm going to go into the key. In A1, I'm going to press Control V, and all I'm going to do here is just type in key and remove the rest. So all I was doing there was just copying across the formatting, saves me having to create it all from scratch. At which point we just need to set up the different fields. So at risk, I'm going to go bold here. I'm going to say no and yes. I'm going to put this in a grey, and I'm going to put a little table around this. So what we need to do is we need to set it up so that this has a drop down of yes or no. So to do that, what I'm going to do is select column B, all of column B, home, data at the top. So click data validation, click data validation, allow. I'm going to select list here. Then in the source, I'm going to click in the source, click in like this. And then I'm going to go into the key. Well, I'm still clicked in there. I'm going to click in key, and I'm going to select these two fields here. So what this is basically saying is look in the key sheet and select and basically pull in the information or the data that is contained in the cells B5 through to B6. It's no and yes. Press OK. And you'll notice now we have a drop down for every single row in this column, all the way down to the bottom because we've set it up for the whole column. Now, the problem with this is you'll notice that it's now set up on these content areas as well. We don't want that. So what I'm going to do is select B1 through to B8, data at the top, data validation, and on allow, I'm going to put any value. And you'll notice it takes it off of those particular cells, but we have it for all the ones we need from row 9 downwards. So that's at risk. Here we are going to type in sprint 1, bold, and then going to put feature 1, feature 2, I'm going to put feature 3. Now here you can put as many features as you need. Now at which point I'm going to select these 3 features. I'm going to press the home ribbon, and I'm going to use indenting on the alignment. I'm going to increase the indent. And you'll see that just sets up a kind of parent-child relationship. It's better visually on the eye, and you can see that they're related to the first sprint. So I've done that. Now I'm selecting C9 through to C12, Control C. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to press Control V, and I'm going to do it again from C17, so Control V. Now all I need to do at this point is just rename these. So the only reason I did that was just to save having to type them all out again and set up that style. I've literally copied and pasted everything I needed. So this would be sprint 3, and then this would be feature 7, 8, and 9. And I've overshot this table by, just for this example, by 10 rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, you don't have to do this. It depends how big you want your table to be. It depends how many sprints and features that you have. But for this example, we're only going to do 3 sprints of 9 features. So I'm going to delete the rest of the table that we don't need. So I'm going to select from row 20, hold shift on my keyboard, select row 30, selected all of those, right click, delete. And now we just have a table that meets our needs. For feature type, we need to set this up in the key and follow the process that we set up a minute ago. So again, I'm going to select all of this from B4 to B6, Control C. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to call this feature type. Now the options here for our Agile projects will be new, improvement, or bug, if I can type that correctly. And I just need to put that around there like that. So now we just set this up. So go back into the Agile project plan, or sprint plan, I should say. Select column D, data. I'm going to go data validation, allow, in the allow, click this drop down, put list. In the source, I'm going to go into the key and I'm going to select these three here. Okay, so now we have those as the options. Now, again, I don't want this all on these cells here from D1 through to D8. So data validation, any value. Okay, so that's looking good. Responsible is going to be a manual text entry, as is story points. That's just going to be a number. Start date and finish date. What we can do is we can right click here and format the cells to date. So we just select the type that we want here. There's loads of different options available to us. I'm just going to select the top one for us. Now you'll notice by my accent, I'm in the UK, which is why it looks like this. If you're in the States and it doesn't kind of look right to you, then that may be why. Right click, format cells, date. Just make sure it's the same format, if you like. I spelled that wrong. Just noticed that as I was going through. Duration, that's going to be numbers again. So that could be, 5 days, whatever. We're going to have status. We just need to set up this. The status is going to be another drop down. So I'm going to go status, bold. Actually, no, I should do that. Control C, Control V. Just want to keep that formatting, keep it all the same. Now our status options are going to be not started, in progress, complete. We are also going to have needs review. We're also going to have approved, overdue, and on hold. And I'm going to put that board around again, and that is our key finished. I'm actually just going to select Format Painter and just put it here so it covers the whole content area. I'll just make these a bit smaller. This is just me being pedantic. I don't actually need to do this, but let's just do that. It looks a bit better visually. Go back to Agile Sprint Plan, and then we just set up that data validation. So select column J, data validation, list, source. So click in here, go in the key and select this group here, press OK. You'll see all of the statuses are in place. I'm going to make that a bit bigger. And I need to remove the data validation from this lot here. I don't want the drop down to be in these cells, so I just removed it out. So now it starts from row 9 downward. So that is the basis of our Agile Sprint Plan. And I now want to show you how we can set up. Oh, there's actually a couple of things I want to do actually. Let me do that first. First, I'll put in some dummy data so that I can show you how to set up the Gantt chart. But let me just put a few more things in. So equals. So you want your start date to be the first, basically the start of the first sprint. So it's going to be, we're going to equals here. So equals G9. And in the finish date, it's going to be the last sprint here. So we're going to put the finish date in like this. Just gives it an accessible way to know when the start and finish date is. Then overall progress, that's going to be percentage. So now I need to get some dummy data. I'm actually going to copy it across from the template we've already got created, just because it will save a lot of time having to kind of go through this manually. So I've just done that and I've gone back in here and I'm going to Control V here. Okay, so it looks like, okay, I've missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've missed a feature, that's why. But you'll see now, so has that shifted anything? No. You'll see now that that's updated this, and you'll also see that we've got some dates in. So I literally just copied and pasted it in. So this is when obviously you'll start entering data yourself. You'll just have a quick look at these. I've just bolded these two to indicate it's the first sprint. You could also do things like this as well. You could also put like a light gray just to indicate the different sprints. Just visually, it just draws it out. You could use a different color as well. I'm going to press Control Z, I don't want that for now. But I've just bolded these out. You'll see you've got duration as well. So what you're going to need at its core before you can start building a Gantt chart is start date and finish date and duration data. You need these 3 columns completed. And actually, you need this one as well. You need the sprint task. Nevertheless, let me show you how to create a Gantt chart. So the first thing that you're going to do is select the start date column. Okay, so from G8 through to G20, you can press insert and you're going to go recommended charts. At which point, click on all charts and then you're going to go to bar. Select this option here, stacked bar, make sure it's selected and press OK. Now let's bring this down here, okay? Let's bring this down. We're going to make this nice and big. Now what we're going to do is select this data here. So I've clicked on that blue bit, or the blue bars. Right click and click select data. So we've got the start date. The other thing we need to do is click on add here in the legend entries series, click add, and we want to pull in the duration. So actually no, the series name, sorry, is just going to be duration. So just select that. Or you can type in duration here, both work. Now the series values are going to be everything underneath, so all of these. So I9 through to I20, press OK. So we've got start date and duration in there, fantastic. Now we need to change the horizontal category or axis label. So we're going to click edit, and the axis label range is going to be C9 through to C20. Press OK. And if we press OK again, you'll see we have this. So what we now need to do is select just the blue. You'll see they've just been selected. So literally just select these blue, not that singular one, all of them. So you can see all of them been selected. Right click, click Format Data Series. Here on the right hand side, click on the fill icon, or fill and line. Click on fill and put in no fill. It's completely removed it out. So these are, in essence, the bars of our Gantt chart. So what we now need to do is, if we select this here on the left, this axis, click on these three here, this bar, and then we're going to go into click on axis options and click categories in reverse order. And you'll see that puts the dates at the top. So the things are looking quite good. If we then select these, so the dates or the horizontal value axis, if we then go to number, make sure we're on this axis options, go to number, scroll down, and just take away the year. Because it's not really required, because, well, at least for the data that I have, it's over the course of a year, and the year is unnecessary. So I'm going to take off the year and then press add, and you'll see, there we go. We just have the dates there. Now what we need to do, or just to make it more effective, is just alter the dates that are being displayed. Our first start date is on the 3rd of September 2024, so we don't need to go back to the 16th of August. So what we can do is click this content area, click this horizontal axis, then click this axis options, and then expand axis options, and you'll see where it says bounds, minimum and maximum. Now these numbers actually equate to a date. So what we're going to do is I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to select all of this here. This is the first date here. Go back in there. So click there, here, axis options, and I'm going to copy it in. So I did a Control V. Now I don't want it to start on the first date of our first task. I want to put a few days before it. So I'm literally going to put 01/09/2024. When I hit enter, look what happens. It's shifted over. Great. Now we need to change the maximum because we've got the other lag at the other end. So I need to find the finish date. So I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to select this here. No, I'm not going to select this here. This icon here. And then in maximum, I'm going to put in the date of our last feature, and then I'm going to give us a few more as well. So let's say the 8th of October 2024, enter, and you'll see it is updated accordingly. Now, the only other thing that you may want to do at this particular stage is just give the different sprints a different color, just so you can differentiate them. You don't want them all in one color. So as an example, let's say sprint 1, I'm going to select this, I'm going to hold control. Oh, no, let's do them one by one. I selected this and this one only. Then I'm going to go to fill, and I'm going to go to color, and I'm going to put this as a light green as an example. Select this one, light green. Select this one, light green. Select this one, light green. Now what you could do is you could put the main sprint as like a darker color. So you got it like this. This can look quite good. It just makes it easier to read. And then we're going to do the next one. So let's just go a darker blue, and then we'll do lighter blues like this. like this and like this. And then for the last sprint, we're going to go for a different color again. I'm going to go for yellow. And this slight differentiation is just better on the eye. You can see that that indicates the whole sprint and these the features of that sprint. And that is how to create a Gantt chart and also your Agile Sprint Plan. So I hope this video is useful. Any questions, comments, feedback, drop them down below. With that said, best of luck, and I hope you have an excellent day.